Hello. First time talking to the camera. I thought I would face my fears and try this. I've also just always wanted to try talking in the camera, and we'll see how it goes if I like this setup. I want to attempt to make a quilt as a beginner sewer. I'm just kind of figuring it out with research that I've done, and I welcome all feedback because I'm sure my process is going to be wrong at some points. But yeah, or maybe it will turn out really good and this will be a good beginner tutorial. Anyway, I have gathered up my fabrics here and I've sketched out on my iPad the directions that I'm going to follow with a little mock-up of my quilt. And then, yeah, I'm just gonna get started cutting out the solid blocks first. So let's get started. Okay, so I have this pile labeled so I don't mix that up with anything. And next I'm going to move on to the half square triangles. So yeah, I'm gonna start cutting those. And then since we're gonna be cutting these pieces into the triangles, we're gonna lose some fabric after we cut them down. So I'm gonna be, instead of cutting out 7.5 inch squares this time, we're gonna add on an inch to make up for the lost fabric. So these ones are gonna be 8.5 inch blocks that we'll end up cutting the triangles from. And my ruler here just happens to be 8.5, so I'm just gonna end up tracing this. Okay, so after we've done the sewing, we're now gonna cut along the middle seam. And now when you open it up, it makes the two half triangles. So next I'm going to iron out the back, and then we will cut the size we need to 7.5. When ironing, you can either do it so that you just iron one side down, or I found most people like to do it split on both ends so that it's even on both sides, just like that. So I've cut all of my pieces out, so now I'm just going to square them up and make sure that they're the size that I need. Alright, so I've got my solid blocks and my half squares all organized into piles now. I've got myself a reminder here to make sure I cut these after I iron all of my quilt pieces. And now I'm going to get started on the 9 patch blocks. I'm now going to count all of my pieces and just make sure I have the correct amount for each of them. And then after that, I'm going to do one last iron on all of my pieces for my quilt. So I completed sewing 3 of my 9 blocks. They look so cute. And now I'm going to show you guys how I did that process. So basically, each row is kind of going to start off as its own group. So separate each of those rows. And we're going to start with the bottom one first. And so you're going to start with 2 pieces, and both the right sides need to face each other. So just line those up, and you're just going to sew along that line. And I originally started with a 1/4 inch seam there, and my block ended up being too small, so I'm doing a bit under a 1/4 inch. And if any of the pieces seem like they're not secure enough, then I'm just going over it a second time. Okay, so here's how that looks. And now I'm going to take the 3rd piece and do the same thing. Right sides facing each other. And we're going to sew along the edge. And for reference, here's about how wide my seam is that I'm doing. So it's just below a 1/4 inch there. And next time I might just make my squares, cut them out bigger, a little bit bigger next time. But I mean, it seems secure, so this whole quilt is just going to be my first quilt, my learning process. And we'll see how I will adjust things next time based on how this goes. But yeah, if you feel like it's a little bit too close to the edge, I would say go over it a second time. And so this one is done now, so I'm going to do the exact same thing for this group of 3. and this group of 3. So each strip is done, so we're going to do the exact same kind of thing and take 2 pieces and put them so that the right sides are facing down. And so we're going to sew along that seam now, so when it opens up it'll look like this, and then after that we'll do the same thing and take this piece, put right sides down right there, and sew along that seam so that one opens up and it creates our 9-block square. And so just to make sure I line up my corners to each other perfectly, I'm going to clip together my 2 pieces. Pretty good, I would say. Okay, I finished sewing all of my 9 patches. They look so cute together. I could see this even being a future quilt pattern, just doing the 9 patch box. But okay, so now I'm gonna go iron these out. I should have ironed each of the strips first, but I was lazy, so I'm going to do that now. And then we're going to start piecing the entire quilt together. So I'm going to go row by row, and I'm going to start at the top one first. And so I'll be doing it the same way I was doing the smaller 9-block ones here, where you do the right sides facing each other and sew along the edge. And I'll be doing about a 1/4 inch seam. that's the first finished row. Each row is now finished being sewn together. So I'm going to go and iron each strip just to make sure it's completely smoothed out, and then I'm going to start at the top again, and I'm going to sew those strips together and then those together and so on. I want to use a seam guide to sew straight lines on my quilt, but my sewing machine is older and it doesn't have a lot of sewing machines, when I've looked it up, they have a hole over here that you can put your seam guide through, but mine doesn't have that. Mine just comes with this, and it's a zipper foot. I'm no expert at sewing still, so I'm not sure why it would be attached to the zipper foot, but apparently that's my only option with this sewing machine. So I'm going to test that out. But if anyone's familiar with this sewing machine and they know how to get a seam guide that I can attach without putting it on one of these on the zipper foot, let me know, because I would love to continue using this foot or whatever foot is good for quilting. Still learning. Okay, the quilt is finished. Here is the final reveal. It's not perfect if you look at it very closely, but I am so happy with it for my first quilt. And excited to do more. Alright, well, thank you for watching if you did. I'm here to show you that if you are a beginner and you want to make a quilt, it's totally possible. I made a quilt that's not perfect, but I really love it. And it's only practice for better projects to come. But yeah, thank you for watching if you stuck through the whole video, and I've got a lot more ideas that I'd like to make this year for crafts and fall and winter. But yeah, have a great day.